Hello, welcome. We will get started in just a second.
So weird not being able to see anything.
Welcome, everybody. We have 77 people registered today.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I was wondering if we would lose some of the Northeast people only because they probably haven't been working Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
They're in my region,
Or if they have any power outages or internet outages because of the weather.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was talking to somebody this morning. They said they haven't had internet here in my town. They haven't had internet since Sunday, since the storm started.
Well, we're lucky you have it.
Yeah. I actually am very fortunate. I have now fiber optic line run into my house, which is nice. Amazing. It's life-changing.
I bet. That sounds nice. Okay. Well, we have about a third of the people that are registered logged in. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Just so everybody knows, this will be recorded. So if you have to jump off, you can, and then you can access this at unitedservicers.com. We want to welcome Diane Hoffman with Reckitt Benckiser, and she is doing Dishwashing 101. Diane, welcome, and you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thanks. So welcome. I hope everybody's enjoying their day and hopefully a good start to 21. So we're looking forward to a really successful 21 and hope to see some of you at the ASTI Light later this year. Dishwasher sales, we actually just got the number for 2020. And the good news is that dishwasher sales were actually up in 2020. About 8.2 million dishwashers were sold last year. And that's actually a 2% increase on the year prior. It's been pretty much flat in that high 7s to 8 million. But the majority of those dishwashers are actually replacing dishwashers that were already in homes. So dishwasher penetration hasn't really changed in any of our lifetimes. So penetration here in the US, so the way we define penetration is anybody who's had to buy a detergent in the last 2 years, assuming that anybody who has a dishwasher and hasn't bought a detergent in the last 2 years likely isn't using their dishwasher. So we don't have the 2020 numbers yet, but at the end of 2019, 54% of all US households had a dishwasher. So they had bought a detergent in the last 2 years. But there's still a big opportunity because if you talk to the manufacturers and even the US government, they'll say about 70% of US homes have a dishwasher. So there are a lot of people who have a dishwasher and may not be using it because one, either they just don't believe in using a dishwasher, or two, the dishwasher may have an issue and they haven't gotten around to repairing or replacing it. So some of the interesting things about dishwashers is the machine itself. The new machines their average life is about 8 to 10 years, whereas the machine that they may be replacing lasted much longer. And Energy Star actually has these energy standards they put out for water and energy usage that the dishwasher needs to meet an Energy Star rating. We actually are likely going to see the first new Energy Star guidelines later this year. So those are going to be coming out. And what that's going to do is, again, lower the amount of water and energy that the dishwasher can use to clean the dishes. And what that will do is actually, in some cases, impact the performance, which will drive consumers to call you to say their machines are working properly. So we're going to talk about that during the session as well. A lot of the newer machines now have a stainless interior, so that is growing. It's still less than 50% of new machines have a stainless interior, but some of the manufacturers have also added a gray plastic versus a white plastic. So you'll actually see that hard water buildup if you're working in a hard water market. But the one key thing, I always say, if you only take one thing away from this training, water temperature is so important in the performance of a dishwasher. So if a consumer is using a good detergent and a good machine and getting a poor result, a lot of the time it has to do with the water temperature. So the temperature actually, interestingly enough, can be too low or too high. And we'll talk about that later on in the session. From a chemistry perspective, we want consumers to use a detergent that contains both of the cleaning agents, bleach and enzymes. So the majority of the products on the market do contain both, except for liquid detergents. Liquid detergents cannot contain both, and we'll talk about that. Multi-benefit products, a tab, a pack, a pod, they're going to do well on spotting and filming, but they're never going to be able to compensate for Energy Star drying, right? And ever since the phosphates went away, machine cleaner and booster penetration has really grown. And that's where we're very fortunate, where Finish actually makes a product in every category of the auto dish segment. So we can help you get the best result for your consumers with a product that they need to help meet their needs. So you guys know a lot about this. This is how a dishwasher works, but this is really helpful because we also do this training for the buyers, like at Walmart and Target, for them to understand how a dishwasher works. So essentially, a lot of the machines in the US have a pre-wash. But the problem is that pre-wash water is typically room temperature water because it's the water between your hot water heater and your dishwasher, right? And then the good thing is you've purged that line, so the main wash water should be coming in at that 120 degrees from your hot water heater. That's where the enzymes will be very active. As the temperature increases, they'll die off and the bleach will become active. But because so much time has passed, we actually have that intermediate rinse to, again, clear that water that's in the pipes between the dishwasher and the hot water heater so that the rinse water can come in really high, heat up through the rinse cycle, and assist with the drying. So this is actually a video of the inside of the dishwasher. So a lot of the times consumers think that dishwashers are very wasteful, right? They think they use a lot of energy, a lot of water. You may see a lot of the advertising that's been on the market for the last couple of years is all about how efficient dishwashers are. So essentially a dishwasher uses about 4 gallons of water in the entire cycle. You would use that running your sink for just 2 minutes, right? So it uses very little water and it very efficiently sprays it around inside the machine. The result of the dishwasher comes from a lot of things, right? So the mechanical action, you guys know everything about, right? You know how to fix everything within the machine. But like I said, the time and the temperature, the quality of the water, the chemistry of what they're using, and the dishes that they're actually putting in there can all impact the load, right? Now, that's very different from hand washing, right? So the dishes and the quality of the water stay the same, but the other elements go very differently. If you were washing dishes by hand, it would take about 34 gallons of water to wash the dishes that you would put in the dishwasher that only uses 4 gallons to clean them. And as you notice, most of the result in the manual dishwashing is the actual mechanics. It's you doing the work. Very little of the time, temperature, and chemistry actually impacts the result, whereas the dishwasher actually uses all of the elements to get the best result with very little water. So it's really, really efficient.
Hey, Diane.
Yes.
We aren't seeing your screen.
Okay. It says... So what were you seeing?
You. There you go. We can see it now.
You can see it now. So do you want me to go?
Well, we didn't see the video. So if you want to go back to the video and then they can see what you were talking about. Perfect. Oh, now they're commenting they were seeing it. So it must have just been a few of us that weren't seeing it because there were a couple saying, texting me. So go ahead and go where you were taking off. You can go back to where you were.
Can you see it now?
Yes. But you can go back to the next. Yeah, you can skip.
Yep, perfect. Okay.
Thanks.
No problem. Sarah is my eyes and ears today because I cannot see anything but my own screen. So I'm relying on her.
Yep.
So, we are still waiting for the year-end numbers from Nielsen for 2020, but even at the end of last year, almost 80% of all detergent sales were in this pack, this pad, this pod, this tab, however you want to call it. When we launched, we were actually the first to launch tabs here in the US back in late 1990s. When we did that, 50% of all detergent sales were in powder and 50 were in gel. And if you notice, even at the end of 2019, only 5% of consumers were actually using powder, but 16% were still using gel. Now, the reason for that is actually interesting. Powder performs better than gel, But a lot of people use gel because they once had an incident with powder, right? Where do you store your powder detergent, whether it be laundry or dish? You store it in a moist area of your home, so under your kitchen sink. When that powder detergent goes hard, it goes hard because it gets moist, and detergents are actually water activated. So what happens is when it goes hard and you take that spoon or that fork to scrape it and put it into the dishwasher, there's no cleaning agents left in that detergent. So a consumer gets in their mind that powder doesn't dissolve. I like the liquid. The liquid dissolves much quicker. I know it's going to get a better result. But as I mentioned before, liquid is the poorest performing regardless of the brand, because liquid detergents can only contain either bleach or enzymes, not both. Because enzymes are living organisms, and when you pour them into a liquid and then pour bleach into it, you would actually kill the enzymes in the bottle. So unfortunately, you still have so many of those people using the poorest performing product because they believe because it dissolves better that it cleans better. But you really want them to be using a product with both bleach and enzymes in it, and we'll talk about that. So like I said, enzymes, I always like to think of, we also make Rid-X. So if you've ever seen our commercials where you have the poop in the bottom of the septic and these little Pac-Men are eating the poop. Enzymes are living organisms. They live in your belly and they break down the breakfast or lunch you just ate, depending on what time zone you're in, right? So the protease will break down all the protein and starch-based stains, and protein-based stains, and amylase will break down all the starch-based stains. So when you have a consumer who's complaining about egg, oatmeal, macaroni and cheese, burnt on pasta, those types of things, chances are they're using a liquid detergent because the majority of the liquid detergents on the market don't contain any enzymes. So Cascade's gel, Our Gel, Sunlight's gel, Palmolive's gel are all bleach-based. There's only 2 enzymatic liquid gels, which is the Cascade Complete Gel, the dark green bottle, and then Our Gel packs are also enzyme-based. We'll talk about those. So if you have consumers that are so phobic about powder not dissolving, a brick of powder is never going to dissolve, and sometimes they really want to stick with a liquid. Now, like I said, the enzymes like that lower temperature at the beginning of the cycle. That's when they're really active and they break stuff down. And then as the temperature increases, it actually dies off. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier when we were talking about temperature. So if the temperature is too low, they're not going to be very active because they want that temperature. Now, if the temperature is too high, you can see what happens as well. They're actually killed off. So if you ever have a consumer who is typically an empty nester that has an instant hot water heater versus a traditional hot water heater, a lot of the times they'll set that temperature up higher. And then what happens is that water coming into the dishwasher, instead of it being at 120, it's at 140 or 150, and you can actually kill the enzymes before they can activate. So if you're having, again, a consumer who's getting a poor result out of a good machine and a good detergent, check the water temperature because even too high may be an issue. But as the temperature increases, those enzymes are actually killed off, and that's okay because that's where the bleach becomes very active. So the bleach is essentially sitting around waiting for it to be 140 degrees so it can really get rid of all those coffee and tea stains. So from a finished detergent standpoint, we have our good, better, best, our deep clean, and then our maximum and our quantum. So our deep clean, like I mentioned, this is the one liquid detergent that's concentrated, that's available with an enzyme formula versus a bleach formula. So if you have that consumer who's so phobic about powder dissolvability, this gives them an option that will break down protein and starch-based stains. And when I say concentrated, it's concentrated because all of the tabs on the market are between 12 and 16 grams. If you were to fill the main and pre-wash cup in some of these dishwashers, you would use between 60 and 80 grams of a powder or gel. That's why a box of powder or a bottle of gel are so big. And then these packs are so small, but this is actually the same number of wash loads as a 75-ounce box of powder. So that was deep clean. So that's our Powerball deep clean, the tab. This wasn't actually the first tab on the market. It was probably the third one that we launched. And what made this one unique is that the red pill in the center contains all the enzymes and will dissolve very quickly. It takes a little bit longer for the rest of the tab to dissolve, but that's okay because it takes that time to get from 120 to 140 in that main wash for the bleach to be able to want to activate. Our number one complaint on this product is this, that it has to be unwrapped. Now, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet, we talked about the amount of water versus hand washing, but we also know that 80% of consumers pre-rinse all their dishes before they put them in the dishwasher. Now, when consumers do this, on average, they use 20 gallons of water pre-rinsing the dishes before they put them in the machine that only uses 4 gallons of water to clean them. So if my hands are soaking wet from pre-rinsing the dishes, it is a little bit more difficult to open this wrapper. But that is one thing I ask you guys. Normally we're all in the classroom together and you can take home some products. But I say for 1 week, don't pre-rinse your dishes. Use a good detergent. Let the dishwasher and the detergent do what they're designed to do to clean. And the reason I need you to do that is so that when you're in her home and you're telling her not to pre-wash her dishes, you can say, I tried it. Like, I didn't believe it either. I tried it and I didn't pre-wash them and everything came out clean. Let the detergent and the dishwasher do what they're designed to do. So because our number one complaint is that it needed to be unwrapped, we actually launched a Maxim-1 product that has enzymes as well in the red tab, but it also has a glass protection built in there for those soft water markets. It has higher levels of enzymes and bleach than you would find in the all-in-one, so it has a little bit better performance, but it also comes in a dissolvable wrapper. So you can place this right into the main wash cup. You don't need to unwrap this before you put it in. And then the final product is our Quantum. So this is the product that we sample in the new dishwashers. And this is the product we also sample with you guys. So hopefully some of you, I'm reaching for my sample pack. Some of you already hand out this sample. So it's got a Quantum on one side and Jet Dry on the other. We provide these to you guys completely free of charge for you to keep on your trucks, so that when you're doing an education call with this consumer about making sure they're using a good detergent and that they're using a liquid rinse aid, you can actually give her that sample at the end of the call so that she can use it herself. So what makes Quantum unique is that the chambers are actually separated. So what you can do is the activator that we put in here for the bleach can be more powerful because it's separated from the bleach in the tab. In addition, all of the liquid in here is surfactants. We're going to see a video in a second on surfactants, but surfactants help the grease removal from the dishes, but it also helps with the spotting and filming on the dishes. Now, this also has, like I said, a much more powerful bleach and much more powerful enzymes, plus the additional level of surfactants. And then last year, we actually improved the formula even more to get better performance on the enzyme-based stains. So things like that burnt on lasagna pan, that burnt on baked on ziti, those were things that we heard were big dissatisfiers with consumers. So we actually upped the formula to improve that performance. So now we're gonna watch the video because we're not here together. So this is actually how surfactants work. So what you're seeing in this bowl is just water, and then we're adding in oils. It's a vegetable oil, and we've actually just added a little bit of chili oil just for color so that you can see it easier. And then what we're going to do is you're actually going to see the R&D person take a little bit of surfactant out of the Quantum tab and put it onto the push pin. And then essentially that surfactant is going to go into the oil and you're going to see what happens. So what that does is the surfactants in the detergent actually take all of the food particles that are on the plate and help them disperse. So it basically lowers the surface tension of the waters and the oils so that they can disperse off the plates and dishes. So from a detergent standpoint, like I said, we have our good, better, best. And, we do this. This slide is actually really for like when I said we train the Walmart buyers and the Target buyers and the Costco buyers. We want them to understand why there are different products. I know a lot of the times the technicians say to me, why do you guys sell anything other than the Quantum? The Quantum is amazing. It's a phenomenal product. Why do you guys sell anything else? And what I explain is that not everyone is going to drive a Ferrari. I drive a Jeep, right? So all of the other products are going to give you good cleaning, right? So the enzymes which give you the protein and starch removal, they are available in all of the products, but you're going to have higher levels of that in the higher level products, the Maximum one or the Quantum. And bleach for the coffee and tea removal. Now, because the gel pack is a liquid, you're not going to have the bleach in there, but you will have it in the other products along the line. And the surfactants, so that grease cutting, that spotting and filming protection is going to increase as you move down the line. And then we also, like I said, have in our 2 premium products have etch protection. So for those consumers who are in soft water markets where they're getting etching of their glassware, this will actually protect their glasses for a long time. So we're going to go into additives. So all manufacturers recommend using additives. I always joke, there's 72 million dishwashers in the United States, and all but about 50,000 of them have a rinse aid dispenser, right? Whirlpool made a short tub model for a very short period of time that didn't have a rinse aid dispenser, but they added it back in very quickly because the drying complaints were very high. So they all have rinse aid dispensers, but we still can't get people to use a rinse aid. Dishwasher cleaners, as the phosphates went away and water hardness went up, you saw that need for dishwasher cleaners, and you're really seeing an increased demand for that. And then we also have a booster product as well. So several years ago, we did a survey with the technicians just like you, and we asked you, what were the top 3 reasons that you were brought out on repair calls? Now, what they could be, so like those top 3, residue left on glasses and cutlery, leftover food particles, and items coming out wet, could be something wrong with the mechanics of the machine, right? It could be that the sprayer arm was broken. It could be that the sump pump was not functioning properly. But the majority of the time, it's what we call education calls, right? It's because they're not using a good detergent and they're not using a liquid rinse aid. And sometimes they're actually really just getting redeposit of something from somewhere onto somewhere else. Like I joke, when this glass goes into the dishwasher, it doesn't have spinach on it. But when it comes out, there is spinach on it. How does that happen? Because there's spinach on a plate. It gets knocked off the plate. That water recirculates. And if you don't have that surfactant to allow those food particles to remove, like we saw in the video, you can actually get redeposit. Now, hard water lime scale issues, that has gotten much worse since the phosphates and odor coming from the dishwasher. A lot of that is coming from that hard water because in that lime scale buildup is food, right? And what happens when the food is sitting there? It grows bacteria and it grows, it creates a smell inside the dishwasher. So we're going to talk about things that we can do to fix that. The other thing that I'm going to do in the next week or 2, some of you may be getting the new survey. So please, if you get it, please complete it. We'd like to know what you guys are going out to talk to, when you're going out on consumer calls, what are the problems that they're having so that we can make sure we're helping you solve those problems with this training and with our products. So if you get it, please participate, and then you will be among the numbers the next time we go through this training. So awareness of dishwasher issues in the US. If you asked 100 people, do you ever have a problem with your dishwasher? Absolutely not, right? 20% of those people would say, yeah, maybe I have a cleaning problem, or, it once broke a glass that I didn't put in there properly. But then if you ask people, do you ever have your dishes still wet? Do you ever have stuff not come clean? Do you ever have, cloudy spots and film? 77% of people will say, yeah, I have that problem, right? But it's just not a big dissatisfier for us. It's not like when we take our favorite sweater and we put it into the washing machine and it has a stain on it and it comes out of the dryer with that stain. When a dish doesn't come clean, we either just scrape it off, wash it by hand, or put it right back into the dishwasher. But the problem is, so consumers are dissatisfied, but they don't know that there's a solution. So when we ask consumers, what are the issues that you're seeing? Plastic containers are always wet. It's the number one answer, right? Dishes have puddles of water on them. There's water spots. I have cloudy dishes. We have a solution for that, but unfortunately, a lot of people just don't think there is a solution for these problems, so they just do what we call compensating behaviors. So out of the top 5, 3 out of the top 5 are around drying. Now, how come drying can be impacted so dramatically? It's impacted by things like the load of what you put in there. So the more glasses you put in there, the better the heat is going to stay. The more plastics you put in there, the worse the heat is going to stay, right? Temperature. If the machine is not heating the water to the proper temperatures, they're going to have drying issues. But some of the other issues come just from this energy efficiency of the machine. So this is the same model machine from the last energy standards in 2015. And then that same model just 6 years prior. So that would have been 2 to 3 Energy Star standards earlier. And you notice that they actually are using that same machine per cycle needs to use 17% less energy. So unfortunately, where do they need to take that energy from? They need to take it from the drying cycle because you still need to clean the dishes. That's what the dishwasher is designed to do. So you need to keep the energy use there. So what happens is this newer machine doesn't dry as well, and consumers don't understand that, right? And it needs to use 40% less water. Now, 40%. How many of us drive a car that 6 years ago, the car used 40% more gas than the car that we're using now? That's a huge difference in energy and water savings that the US government has asked the manufacturers to do. Now, one of the other things that comes from this is it's a lot of confusion for the consumer, because when you explain to her that her dishwasher is using 17% less energy than the old one, she says, that can't be. My old dishwasher only took 1 hour and this one takes 2.5, right? So that's a huge dissatisfier as well, is the time. But the reason the time is taking so long is because of that energy usage. Because in order to heat the water more efficiently and use less energy, it takes more time. So the example that we use for you guys, when she says, this doesn't make any sense, my new machine takes so much longer, how can it be using less energy? You have 2 cars, one's an 8-cylinder and one's a 4. Which one's going to get there first? The 8-cylinder, but which one's going to use more gas? So you can't use that 8-cylinder engine to heat the water. So it's going to take a longer period of time, but still end up using less energy. So the other issues that consumers are having are spotting and residue, right? So it comes from the quality of the water. So if a consumer has hard water and they're not using a liquid rinse aid and a detergent with built-in surfactant, they're going to actually get hard water deposits onto their dishes. So the number one complaint from all dishwasher manufacturers in the United States is that their dishes aren't dry, right? And as I mentioned, all but a handful of dishwashers actually have a rinse aid dispenser. But when we look at the 2-year penetration as a percentage of detergent, so remember, only 54% of US households are buying detergent, and only 41% of them have bought a rinse aid in the last 2 years. And even those that bought a rinse aid only bought this one that only lasts 80 wash loads. Over 2 years, they've likely done almost 200 wash loads of detergent and only had 80 wash loads of rinse aid. So this is a thing for both us and the manufacturers, and for you guys, this is a huge one for consumers. They have a rinse aid dispenser, they don't use it, and they could actually see a huge benefit from using the dispenser that's built into their machine. So how does Jet Dry work? So I always like to say, so Jet Dry, we like to call it the Kleenex of rinse aid. If you ask people about rinse aid, they look at you with a blank stare, and then you say Jet Dry. Ooh, they know what that is. That's the blue stuff. They pour it in the hole. They don't know why, but it makes their dishes sparkly and clean, right? So we just actually changed our packaging and changed our commercials last year to be 3-in-1, because we wanted people to understand that it not just dries, it rinses, dries, and shines. So again, it stops that deposit of the hard water that creates things like spots and filming, and actually helps dry the dishes. So there's surfactants in there. And what we're going to do is you guys are going to kind of play along with me, hopefully. So this is a droplet of water. A droplet of water has high surface tension, right? In this droplet of water in the rinse cycle is hard water minerals, if you're in a hard water market, but also food and detergent from the main wash. Because at the end of the main wash cycle, the water is drained, but not purged, because remember, they need to use 40% less water. So some of that water is reused. So there's food and detergent from the main wash in this droplet of water. So when it has a high surface tension, it holds on for dear life and dries right here. And that's how you see a spot. When you add surfactant, when we add rinse aid, the average machine only dispenses about 5.5 drops out of an eyedropper into a gallon of rinse water. And what that does is allows that surface tension of the water, like we saw in the bowl, to go from this to this. And all of those water droplets will slide right off, right? And if they're on a horizontal surface, it has a lot more air to help it dry, and any mineral deposits that might be in there may not be seen because they're spread over a much larger area. So when you look at the results, we do drying goes on a scale of 0 to 1. Detergent alone with a built-in rinse aid will actually give you about 20% dry. But when you add jet dry, you get over 3 times better drying. And you can see the plastic, and this is one of those inexpensive, not Tupperware, plastic containers. Because they don't hold their heat very well, they don't help themselves dry. So you can see the big difference between the left and the right when you're using jet dry. And then depending on what products they're using, regardless of what detergent they're using, they will actually see a huge performance difference in the drying when they add the jet dry. And they actually see it on everything in the load. So it used to be that glass dried very well and cutlery dried very well because why? They hold their heat. So metals and glass hold their heat better. But in these new 2015 energy efficient machines, because we're using less water for the drying, or less energy for the drying cycle, and the glasses are on the second rack and the cutlery is on the third rack and the heating element is down below, even those items are not drying as well. But you see a remarkable difference when you add the rinse aid. You'll see an amazing difference on every level of what's going into the dishwasher on the drying performance. So as I mentioned, when you look at all the dissatisfiers, the jet dry rinse aid actually solves the majority of the dissatisfiers, but consumers don't know to look for a solution. They actually just don't think there's a solution. They just call you guys and say, something's not working about my machine. So that's why we developed the jet dry sample for you to be able to say that they need to be using it. That's why there's a dispenser for it. You can put the sample in or you can give them the sample. And then for the next month, because it's a 23 wash load sample, the next month, they're going to see these solved problems, right? So these problems are no longer going to be an issue when they're using a rinse aid. So this is a video of how the sheeting works on the jet dry, like I mentioned. So we always do this. We always pit 2 people against each other. So you have on the right, you have the rinse aid, and on the left, you have just water, and then you have a blow dryer. And you can see how that water is just sheeting right off with the jet dry versus the water on the left without the jet dry really gives you poor drying, but also that spotting and filming issue. So now we're going to get a little bit into hard water. So there's hard water in a lot of the United States. Some of you may be in hard water, some of you may be in soft water, and we'll talk about both of those issues. So last year, we actually launched a new rinse aid. So we knew that consumers who used, remember, only 40% of those households that use a dishwasher use a rinse aid. So the 60% of those households that aren't using it, a lot of them were in hard water because we saw all those complaints were about, my dishes are spotty, my dishes are filmy, I have puddles of water on them, right? So what we did was launch this hard water rinse aid that also could be put into the rinse aid dispenser instead of regular rinse aid. And what it does is actually removes the lime scale that's on there. So not only does it help prevent the lime scale from forming like the regular jet dry would, it can actually remove some of the lime scale from the dishes. So you can see this dish on the bottom. Once that's hard water buildup on the dish. Once they place it into the water plus the jet dry, it actually removes it. When you dip it again in just water, you can see that there's more buildup from the hard water minerals. So what makes it a little bit different than the booster is convenience, right? So you don't have to dose it every cycle. You put it into the rinse aid dispenser, you refill it once a month, and it actually removes, because it has the citric acid built in, it actually can remove some of the lime scale stains already on the dishes. So this is my favorite glass. It's been with me everywhere. So these are glasses. So how many of you have probably been called by a consumer to say, my dishes are all cloudy? The problem is there's actually 2 reasons a consumer could have a cloudy dish. And one is hard water and one is soft water. And the problem is most consumers don't know whether they have hard or soft water. So on our website, there's actually a 10-second video of me doing this test. But we always ask you, if you're trying to diagnose it over the phone with her, ask her if she has any vinegar. Everyone has vinegar in their household. You've once dyed paws Easter eggs, whether you're a Christian or not. You needed 2 tablespoons for each color. Take the vinegar, rub it on the inside and outside of the glass. If the cloudiness goes away, it's hard water buildup. If it doesn't, it's soft water etching. So it's very visual for her, because when you ask her about her water hardness, most people will say they live in hard water, whether they do or not. So really ask her to do the vinegar test, because that's the best way of knowing what the problem is. And if the vinegar does remove it, we do have a product similar to that Let Me Shine product that you just saw, which is a booster that will remove the cloudiness and filming. It actually also boosts the detergent so that you get a better performance out of the detergent. And what makes it a little bit different than the Let Me Shine is that what Let Me Shine tells you to do is the instructions tell the consumer to throw their detergent in the bottom of the machine and then fill the main wash cup with Let Me Shine, which makes a lot of sense because the main wash cup is the big one. So you use a lot more Let Me Shine, whereas we say just put the booster in the pre-wash cup, but then they actually don't have any detergent in the main wash for the cleaning cycle. So you definitely, if you've asked the consumer to stop pre-rinsing, they're going to get a poor performance if they follow the Let Me Shine directions, because they won't have any bleach or enzymes or surfactants in the main wash. And that's where you need it. So dishwasher cleanliness is another one that we heard, right? And we heard that from you guys as well, that you see this hard water buildup. The consumers don't know what it is. They don't know how to get rid of it. There's an unpleasant odor sometimes from that. So we have a couple products to help with that. So we have the liquid machine cleaner. So this is actually a single use. Peel the sticker off, stand it up like a dessert plate in the bottom rack of the machine, and run it in an empty cycle. Run it on the longest, hottest cycle so that the wax plug melts as quickly as possible. So the blue layer at the top cuts through all the grease and grime, and the clear part is all citric acid to break down all that calcium and lime buildup. So we say just run it once a month on the, in the machine in the hottest and longest cycle. Why the bottle design is the way that it is, as more and more machines are getting that third rack, or they're moving the cutlery baskets to the door or to the side of the machine where the water flow isn't as good. This way you can stand it up like a dessert plate and the wax plug will get melted very quickly. I know some of the technicians talk about, they tell consumers to put Tang in there or put a bowl of vinegar in there. But what makes these products, the dishwasher cleaner, really unique is that it actually dispenses in the main wash, right? Because it doesn't dissolve. The wax plug doesn't dissolve to that 126 in the main wash. So you have the longest part of the cycle that's actually got the cleaning fluid in it. This is a 7-month-old dishwasher in extremely hard water. Obviously, it had stopped working. The manufacturer had showed it to us. We asked them to humor us and run the dishwasher cleaner through it. To the consumer, at the end, it looked new, but these are the pictures you guys would care about. This is the sump pump at 7 months old, completely full of calcium and lime. At the end, you can see it was back to moving 100% of the water. And if the consumer had just used the product like recommended once a month, you never would have seen that buildup in there. Now, a lot of the technicians will tell me that when they see this, when they go out at 7 months, they can replace this and bill the manufacturer. But in another 7 months, when you go out, you're going to have to bill her because it's not going to be in warranty anymore. So if we can solve her problem by teaching her to get this better result by cleaning the machine, and that's why there's a coupon for the machine cleaner in all of your sample packs, then it's even better because you don't want to surprise her with another bill 7 months from now. This is my favorite. So this is the sprayer arm. I thought that hole was like the little directional jets in your shower head that shows the water where to go, but it's supposed to be that big open hole. I actually had a technician last year tell me that he had a suggestion, and he had done this with one of his consumers, that when he saw the sprayer arm that bad as it was in picture 1, he actually replaced the sprayer arm because that part was only about $19. And then ran the dishwasher cleaner, because then immediately in one wash cycle, it would have moved the citric acid through there. The problem is it took 4 or 5 cycles of the machine cleaner to actually clear the sprayer arm enough to start spraying the water throughout the machine. So what does it do? It cleans the stainless steel interiors. It cleans out all of the sprayer arms and the sump pump and the outlet valves and all of those things to help make sure that the machine can, maintain what it needs to do. So this is just a comparison of some of the dishwasher cleaners. So there's actually two functions. There's grease removal and lime scale removal. So, we have a direct competitor on the lime scale removal side, Dishwasher Magic, but they don't have the grease removal capabilities that we do. So, if they want to be getting the best result from both grease and lime scale removal, the finished product is the best on the market. And then we actually launched 2 years ago now, an in-wash cleaner. So this is actually used just for grease and grime removal. So this is for those consumers who are doing a lot more cooking with different oils, right? So when they're actually cleaning their machine, running their dishwasher, they're actually starting to see some buildup, especially if they're not using something with a good level of surfactant, like we saw in the bowl example. They're actually starting to see some grease buildup in the dishwasher. So once a week, we just say, throw this in with your detergent and your dirty dishes. So it actually has enzymes in it. So it will help when you have that really baked on, burnt on lasagna pan. It'll help clean detergent. So sometimes a dishwasher cleaner can actually impact the detergent and then not clean the dishes. This doesn't have any impact there. So like I had mentioned before, full corrosion. So when a consumer calls you and their glass is completely cloudy, that's where you need to do the vinegar test to determine whether it's hard or soft water. These other three dish glasses that you see on the screen are actually all soft water etching. And the way etching happens is water doesn't want to be soft. It wants to have calcium magnesium. So it will actually leach the calcium magnesium out of the glass. So that partial corrosion is the way that stem is attached to the glass, is that the flame goes around the bottom to attach the stem. Remember when your Bunsen burner was only supposed to have blue flame, yellow flame meant your gas was up too high? The gas was up too high and it actually damaged the glass under the surface. So whether a consumer sat that in the dishwasher or sat it in a sink full of hot water, they would have that same damage because the soft water would leach the ions out of the glass. The line corrosion, same thing. It's a blow mold. There was something in the mold. You couldn't see it, but because the damage was under there, the water can leach very easily. And the iridescence comes from more and more of the glasses. Essentially, I always say our parents' water glasses were wedding presents, right? Now we buy our water glasses at Target and IKEA. And when they use a lower grade of sand to create the glass, once a layer of the glass has been removed, you actually see this iridescence in the glass. So what can you do? I always say, if you can find a house with 8 grains of hardness, buy it. At 100 wash loads, that glass looks beautiful. At 1 grain, you can see the milking in the glass. And at 1/10 of a grain, it literally looks like there's milk in the glass. That is all completely etched away. But you can use lower, shorter temperature programs. The more time the water has, the more it's going to leach. Open the door immediately after at the end of the cycle because that steam is water looking for calcium magnesium ions. Use products with etch protection built into them. So our Quantum, our Maxim one, and our Jet Dry Rinse Aid all have etch protection. The one thing we do know is that our competitor does have high levels of MGDA, which causes this etching in extremely soft water. So you see after 100 wash loads, what it looks like with Quantum and what it would look like with a Cascade Platinum is very different in that soft water market. So this is our additives portfolio for 2020, actually now 2021, I apologize. And surfactants give you that spotting, filming, and drying. Polymer that helps with the shine, we have that built into our Rinse Aid products as well. Citric acid will break down lime scale. We have that in our booster, our dishwasher cleaner, and our hard water Rinse Aid. And then products with etch protection. So like our Rinse Aids have the etch protection. And then if you really have those extremely dirty dishes, the protein and starch removal, you can boost that with the in-wash dishwasher cleaner tab. So I leave you with, I have plenty of time to answer your questions. So that's one. But 2, as I mentioned, we do have the sample packs that are available to you guys completely free of charge. The way you get them is dishwashingexpert.com. So dishwashingexpert.com, when you go there, if you go to the top right-hand corner, Over here, you'll see a register and login. If you haven't logged in before, if you don't have a username and password, go to register. You'll create your own username and password, and then I will send you or you'll create your username. I'll send you your password. Then when you log in, that actually becomes a request sample button. You just click on it, you enter all your information, and the samples get shipped to you completely free of charge.
Can you see?
Sarah?
Yeah, we don't have any questions yet.
What?
I know. Oh, somebody wants you to send the link to them. So we'll get that. We'll get that to you, Xavier.
The link for the website or the link for the presentation? Because I can send you a PDF that you can share with them.
Okay, we can do the PDF of that, and then also I'm thinking the link to the samples.
Okay, the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody has to have a question.
Anyone? Oh, she would like both links, so we'll definitely get those to you. Nothing. One person is frozen. You can't hear, but when you click reconnect, it usually. So, oh, here we go. What causes the gel packs to not fully dissolve?
Okay. The gel pack shouldn't not fully dissolve. Sometimes just any of the tabs might not fully dissolve for a couple different reasons. Sometimes you have to understand where is the tab. So when you put the tab, here I'm going to grab a dispenser. Sorry to get so close to the screen. Okay. When you put the tab into this dispenser and then you close the door, if you have something large like a cutting board or a cookie pan or a large platter in the front of the dishwasher, when this disengages, the tab does not actually fall out because it's hitting whatever's in the front of the machine. But when you open the door to the machine at the end of the cycle, because it's already open, the tab will fall out. So sometimes you have to understand where was the tab in the process. The other thing is, we always recommend that when you put a tab in the dispenser, that the dispenser is dry. And the reason is because 15 years ago, the manufacturers actually had part of the sprayer arm spray into the detergent cup to clean out the detergent, right? Because they wanted, to make sure all the powder and gel got out. But then when tabs became so relevant and quiet became so important, they didn't want water spraying into the door of the dishwasher. They just want the tab to fall out. But if this is wet when you put the tab in, like this, or even the gel pack, it can actually just get stuck. And it could end up hanging out here for quite some time during the wash cycle. And then drop out either in the rinse cycle, in the dry cycle, whenever. So the first thing to understand is, what does the tab look like? Like, is it partially dissolved? Is it 90% dissolved? Is it 10% dissolved? And then try to understand, is the door blocked? Is there water coming into the dishwasher? Because that's another reason that the tab couldn't be dissolved. But these tabs will dissolve even in cold water. They don't even need hot water to dissolve. They just need hot water to clean. So, you can always send an email to proservice@rb.com. That's the email that's on the website, or click the contact us button on the website. Send me pictures and we can try to figure it out. But the majority of the time, unfortunately, it's like we like to call user error. And it makes sense, right? When you put that big cookie pan at the front, because then it's not blocking anything else and you don't think about the detergent dispenser itself. And that's why so many of the newer dispensers don't actually flip open, they flip up, right? So it can't get blocked by something in the front of the machine. But a lot of the machines on the market do have a dispenser like this.
Perfect. We have a couple compliments. Found it very helpful. You're very thorough. Somebody says, I have a water system, but my glasses are still soupy.
Soupy or soapy?
It might mean soapy, soupy. I'm guessing maybe soapy.
Okay, that's a good question because it actually brings up another point to me. Foaming. So if you guys ever have foaming issues, there's a couple reasons there could be foaming issues, and foaming issues will create sometimes a look like this on the glass because it just has all this foam spraying around in the machine. A couple things. One, rinse aids, or at least we know our rinse aid, which is the majority of the market, has anti-foaming agents built into the rinse aid. The problem is those anti-foaming agents activate at about 96 degrees. So if you fill the rinse aid dispenser before you start your dishwasher and spill it all over the place, and then start the dishwasher, we learned that first water coming in is room temperature. So the anti-foaming agents aren't going to work, right? Or if their rinse cycle water is not getting high enough temperature, they might get foaming. The problem with foaming is foaming doesn't go away, right? Foaming, you need to cut it. So we always say, and I hate to say it this way, paper towel with some vegetable oil to cut the foam. Otherwise, the foam is not going to go away. So temperature can do it, spilling before can do it, and that will cause this buildup on a lot of the dishes, this foaming buildup. Sorry, I have to take the dispensers away from a puppy.
What is the concept of soft water and hard water?
So the calcium magnesium content in them. So the amount of minerals in the water makes it either soft or hard. So it's actually interesting. So I had shown that map of the United States, and there's a lot of areas that are soft and hard. I happen to live on a lake. I live on the west shore of a lake. We have 14 grains of hardness. If I lived on the east shore of the lake, we would have 6 grains of hardness. So I would have no need for a water softener. We're serviced out of 2 different aquifers. In addition, water hardness changes for a lot of reasons. It changes because municipalities are usually in control of our water, right? So those municipalities, when they need to cut money out of something, they want to cut it from things that don't impact human life. Water hardness doesn't impact you or I. It impacts the ice maker on our refrigerator, our washer machine, and our dishwasher and our plumbing, right? Our shower heads get a little scummy. So what happens is over time, municipalities may increase the water hardness by not softening it as much because they can save money doing that. In addition, the more rain we have, if you're in a mountainous region, the more rain you have, the water comes down the mountain, it picks up the calcium magnesium, it brings it down into the water supply. So you can actually end up during seasons getting different water hardnesses in the same region. So that's why water softener, I always say to the guys, when you see a dishwasher that looks like the one we saw in the pictures, sell them a water softener because that same damage is happening everywhere else and they can't see it, right? The dish inside of the dishwasher, you can see it. You don't see it in the washing machine because it happens behind the drum, right? But the washing machines end up dying, or the heater in it ends up dying because all of that calcium and lime is built up in the back there.
Gotcha.
So hopefully that answers.
Yeah. What would cause this? I've tried not pre-washing our dishes, but they are not coming clean. So that's part of the enzymes.
It depends on what's not coming clean, okay, right? So if it's the coffee and tea stains, then it's the bleach. If it's food particles, it's the enzymes. We always say, use a good detergent, use a good machine. The other thing I've been seeing a couple comments come in from a couple of our buyers about consumers who are complaining right now about dissolvability and cleaning. I have 3 feet of snow on the ground here. Is there anybody on the call who's like in Minnesota? And you're coming off well water? That water coming out of the ground may be colder, and not every machine in the US heats to a temperature. Machines about above that 700, 800 price point will normally heat to a temperature. The ones below that will only heat for a period of time. So if water temperature is not right, you won't get good cleaning. And that's why I say if they're using a good machine and using a good detergent, check the water temperature. So what that person may want to do is make sure they run their hot water tap and do something else with it, fill that thing and water their plants with it. but make sure they're getting that hot water fill into the dishwasher, because as you saw, the detergents are really activated by the temperature of the water.
Okay, perfect. How do the enzymes get into the pre-wash if the tablet is still in the closed dispenser?
They don't. So that was something we didn't talk about. So remember I talked about the tabs are between 12 and 16 grams. If you fill the main and the pre-wash cup, you actually would use anywhere between 40 and 80 grams, depending on the age of the machine. The pre-wash, as we saw, was usually room temperature water for 6 to 8 minutes. So it doesn't have enough time or temperature to actually impact the cleaning of the dishes, right? So it really doesn't benefit you to fill the pre-wash because that time and temperature isn't there to clean. The enzymes, when the main wash water comes in, it comes in at 120 because we've purged in the pre-wash, and that's when the enzymes need to be in there, when it's 120. When that water is 80 degrees, it doesn't make sense to have the enzymes in there anyway.
Okay.
So
perfect.
if a machine doesn't have a pre-wash at all, so some of the European machines don't have it, that consumer could put the detergent just into the bottom of the machine. I have a Fisher & Paykel dish drawer. I just throw my Quantum into the machine. I don't put it in the dispenser. But my Bosch, I put it in the dispenser. So.
Okay, perfect. What should the water temperature be inside the dishwasher?
So coming in from the hot water heater, 120 is ideal. Because as I mentioned, if it's below that, you may not be able to get that hot enough, that 140 for the bleach. But if it's too high above that, like I said, we actually had an issue with 2 of the high-end manufacturers where a lot of their consumers were setting their hot water heaters much higher. The empty nesters that, had these beautiful homes with these, showers with 74 jets, and they wanted that 140 degree water. It was actually killing the enzymes too quickly. So if the 120 degree water comes in, we actually still have it on all our packs. It says between 125 and 140 is the optimum temperature for using the dishwasher.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions that have been submitted. If they have any additional questions, where could they email you?
Pro service, all one word, at RB, R like Robert, B like boy.com. Or if you go to dishwashingexpert.com, the contact us button also comes into my email.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Diane, for taking time out of your day. It's been a pleasure. We hope to see you soon.
See you soon. Hopefully see you at ASTI.
Yes, definitely ASTI Light.
ASTI Light. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.